when it comes to shootings like this, people come down on whether or not they support ICE and mass deportation, whether or not it's a really big thing for them, or they think that that's something that the government shouldn't be doing. And then you judge these situations afterwards. The situation that happened with Alex Pretti, I think is how you say the last name, Alex Pretti. And from everything I can see, it looks like a guy who should not have been shot by law enforcement. When you just take into account that he had clearly been disarmed beforehand, it looks like a guy who should not have been shot. And I think the government should come out and say that. They have, in a couple ways, come out and said things that sound like that in the last couple days, as opposed to their initial messaging, which was this guy is a domestic terrorist who was there to inflict maximum harm on law enforcement officers. That was a really dumb way to start talking about this. You've got to admit when you make mistakes. The government, they will get so much more trust from the people, or at least goodwill with the people, if they will just come out and admit when something happens that should not have happened. And whether or not you can legally justify what happened, which I believe they will be able to legally justify the use of force. I don't think the officer who fired the first shots is going to go to prison or anything. If he were to go to a trial, I don't think he would get convicted. I think he's going to be legally justified because they were trying to get him on the ground. He wouldn't get on the ground. Someone yelled, gun, gun, gun. He's got a gun. And I think at that point, as far as qualified immunity goes and all the case precedent goes for law enforcement officers, he's going to be legally justified. But that's different than being able to come out and say, this happened, that's tragic, it should not have happened, even if we don't like what the guy was doing, even if the protesters are super annoying, which they are. I'm going to talk about that. I have no respect for these protesters at all. These are not protesters that are protesting for the abolition of the federal government or the state or tyranny or anything. These are protesters who have decided that this specific thing is something they don't want their tyrannical government doing. In the same way that we didn't get down with the January 6th protest that turned into a riot and everyone's like, yeah, take it over. I'm like, take it over for what? They're not going to instill a Thomas Jefferson philosophy afterwards. They're going to make sure that your Social Security payments don't go down and make sure that your Medicare is still covered and, make sure that you're still sending out all these welfare payments to the right people. Like, that's not what they're doing. And these protesters are the same way. They're not there working with libertarians to abolish the federal government or anything like that. They're not fighting against the power of the state in general at all. That's not what they're doing. They found one specific issue where they've identified one group of people that they want to protect the inalienable rights of. If these same people were, say, right-wing immigrants who were thought to have been protesting at January 6th or something, and it was Biden's DOJ going door to door looking for these people who were filming people doing things on Jan 6th, they wouldn't be out there protesting what they're doing at all. They wouldn't be protesting them getting deported.
I have whatever is less than no respect for these people.
Yeah.
So you take like no respect level and you go lower than that. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
Towards the protesters. And it's not a protest. And we've seen from the left throughout the history of the last 5 years, let's say, what their idea of protest is. And it includes impeding others' rights to travel, to privacy, to all sorts of things. Not that filming is privacy. We'll get into that. They set buildings on fire. They loot. They do all sorts of things that don't include that aren't included in the definition of protest. And that's what makes it so gall-darn annoying, including, by the way, the Jan 6 people did the same thing. They did several things that weren't included in protest, which, the precedent, I guess, was set for them. But in reality, you have to look at this, as Nate said, where this guy didn't deserve to be killed. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's a card-carrying, conceal carry, whatever, Second Amendment. The police made a mistake in someone yelling gun, 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 and then you have probably poor trained, brand new ICE officers which, by the way, people forget these are law enforcement officers with all the protections that come with being an LEO. And unfortunately, this guy was shot, and we're anti-death, and I'm against people dying. I wish they could have detained him and arrested him or whatever, and it would have played out that way, but it didn't.
I wish those 6 people would have been able to get him on the ground where they could arrest him, but unfortunately, his ICU nurse, I think there must be something with almond milk or something like that that makes you extra strong or whatever, but they just weren't able to get him down. And that's a whole other part of the conversation. Like, how did these 6 guys, can 6 guys not get one guy to lay flat on the ground? That's kind of weird. But yeah, the whole situation is, and by the way, also in response to what I've seen some libertarians say, I don't care that this guy, if you want to call him a commie or whatever, I don't actually think that when the state just randomly kills a commie, that it's a good thing, because you're not actually laying out that the state should kill commies. What you're doing is saying that the state, who can be controlled by commies tomorrow or in a couple of years, can kill people just randomly who are out there doing questionable things with protests and, legal observation and whatever. And probably you could make an argument impeding or obstructing. I think we're going to talk about that in a bit. It's not that I want to make rules to protect commies. It's that I want rules that restrict the government in general. And that's what I want. And so we have plenty of things we can go through. And for the people that are very concerned about doing mass deportation, I think what we're going to find here is, if you want the mass deportations to happen, you're going to have to clean this mess up. And it is a mess right now. And another thing I think we're finding is that this is going to be really difficult to do without help from local law enforcement to keep some of these people back and to enforce some of the local laws and all that. And in Minnesota, that's been tough, although I've seen videos going around that they are getting involved a little bit with helping now. It's going to be really tough to do. A majority of Americans wanted these deportations to happen. Trump was elected very clearly with a mandate to do the mass deportations. I think most of those people like the idea of that, but they didn't think through what that means or what that would entail. I think they assumed there's a giant list that the government has that's got everyone's names and addresses, and Biden was just refusing to go and knock on the people's doors and show them the warrant and bring them out and arrest them and ship them home. And it turns out that's not really the case. Some of these people are hard to find. Without door-to-door and checkpoints and all of that, it's going to be really tough to do the kind of deportations people are wanting. And then the other thing that people have to accept is that if you think there's 20 million people here that shouldn't be here, that is something you're going to have to accept, that a large amount of those people are never going to get deported. It's not going to happen. At most, if they were to be extremely successful in what they're doing, extremely successful, they could do like 1 million people in a year. And when you're thinking about deportations, you're probably not thinking about turning people away at the border or catching people right after they went over the fence or whatever and then sending them straight back. Like, that's not what you're thinking of as a deportation. You're talking about people who live inside the country somewhere that people are wanting to get deported. And to be able to deport even 1 million people a year would require a massive amount of force and police state that I think a lot of people are at the end of the day not going to be comfortable with. And especially when you see people abusing some of that power and you see situations like this unfold and you see videos going around of ICE officers telling people that they're going on a list of domestic terrorists because they were filming them, something like that. Like, that stuff is not, you're not going to have the people behind you long enough to be able to make this happen. And so if you actually want a large amount of deportations to happen, they gotta clean this up, and they're going to have to be accountable, and people are going to have to believe that these people are accountable. and that there's going to be investigations when bad things happen, and there's going to be unbiased investigations.
And I want to say one other thing about this is that there are other avenues to, let's say, well, let's describe the problem. The problem is, under the Biden administration, somewhere between 5 to 20 million people came across the border illegally. In large part, they were aided by the government of the United States. They were bused and planed to certain locations in an effort, by their own words, to increase the voter population, increase the seats and things like that, giving these people a path to citizenship within 5 years that would solidify a Democratic majority for the foreseeable future of American politics. That is the problem at hand. I may be exaggerating that a little bit, but that...
Yeah, I don't know if the Biden administration, in their own words, said we're going to plane people to
the Democratic
Missouri.
Party,
yeah,
in their
I would
own
say
words.
Democrats,
yes,
are pretty clear on that being something they want to do.
So,
and I think that's also why Trump has focused so much on some of the blue states and getting these people out, because as of right now, like, the census is still going to count all of these people who are here illegally and who supposedly can't vote as people that are going to count for apportionment of congressional seats, which counts for electoral votes. And I think that's why they're focusing a lot on some of the blue states, but some of the blue states are sanctuary states or have a lot of sanctuary cities. And so they're running into some issues here. It's a tough situation.
And what I'm trying to do is define the problem. And then, okay, what are the potential solutions?
Cool.
Deportation's one solution, but you have to do it the right way. Again, if you have a PR nightmare, it's just going to make the job more difficult. Okay, so that's one solution. Another solution is to advocate for laws to make their presence here insignificant. Rand Paul's put up some good proposals. You have other congressmen and senators working on other ways in which these people could assimilate into American society without any of the benefits. They couldn't vote. They don't get citizenship status, whatever the case may be. Some of those people may self-deport because they don't have those added benefits, and so that helps your deportation problem. And I think Trump got the first step right, which is like, we got to close the border. And they did that immediately and successfully, might I add. So that was step one.
You got to stop the bleeding.
They stopped the bleeding.
If you're dying because someone's stabbing you, first thing you do is you stop the person who's stabbing you from continuing.
And then if you want to go the medical route, let's classify, the people here as a cancer, not necessarily, but the cancer spread all throughout the body. It's a little harsh.
That's
but
harsh.
I'm thinking medically here in a metaphor, if you follow me along.
You listen to Nick Fuentes a lot, I think.
You want to rid the cancer from the body. You can't do it in just one operation. Mm-hmm. There are several different methods in which you have to use to mitigate the problem at hand. And I don't think we're taking all those things into consideration. People are singularly focused on one thing and one thing only, and it's come hell or high water, almost, in my view, to the misfit patriots type of like, murder every Hispanic children that exists until I don't care if they're American citizens or not, until we get everybody deported.
I'm fine with as many dead protesters as it takes
yes.
to rid America of illegal immigrants.
And you can't do that. There has to be a balanced approach here.
The thing is, people will say, well, you sure as hell can, but it's not gonna happen. You're not going to get the numbers that you want. First off, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to get the numbers that people are talking about wanting. One of the main reasons is, number one, it's not possible. Number two, if they did somehow find a way to get up to this high amount, you're not going to be in control for forever, and you're going to create a massive backlash. And if they don't focus on making sure people can't come across the border, which apparently you can do depending on who is the president, but there's got to be some way of making sure that's enforced. And apparently you can just decide to enforce or not enforce. They haven't brought up Alejandro Mayorkas from the Biden administration on charges or anything. I guess they never caught him lying to Congress about something. And so it's like the next president that gets in can just start letting people in again. And so they're not even like codifying really how you're going to make sure that never happens. And so I do think that needs to be a big focus. I think I'll play the Rand Paul video since you already mentioned it. I had it for a little bit later, but we do have to decide, like, what is the problem that we have with illegal immigrants being here. I think the number one thing most people can agree on is you don't want people who are on the run for like violent crimes to just be in your country, and especially something like you know that they're in your country, you know where they might be. Like I always said, like, well, you don't want someone to like murder their family and then they get like, bused to Missouri, and then when a law enforcement officer is trying to arrest that person, there's like these protesters blowing rape whistles and honking their horns and putting cameras in people's faces. And the guy's like, oh, I guess they're coming for me. I'm going to run. And so you don't want the people that have committed those crimes being here. Like almost everyone can agree, you committed some kind of violent crime, got to go. Okay. So that's the main one, which is why I think that is what ICE should focus on predominantly. They say they are, but like over 70% of the people that they count as deported were people who didn't have any crimes attached to them. It's because those people are going to be harder. There's less of them. Like of the, on average, say 14 million people you could say are here, it's like 100,000 or so that fit that violent criminal category that we know of. There's probably, there's more that we don't know of. Absolutely. And so you could focus a lot of effort getting those people out. But what's the problem? Your numbers aren't going to be very high. And people voted for high numbers. And so when you try to get the high numbers, how are you going to do that? You got to try and round up as many people as you possibly can. Well, a small percentage of them are actually violent criminals, meaning you're going to round up mostly people who overstayed their visas or came here illegally 10, 20 years ago. You're going to have to go to Home Depot parking lots. You're going to have to go to the car factory. You're going to have to go to the hotel. You're going to have to go to the weed farm, restaurants, stuff like that. But they don't want to do that because that makes businesses upset. But that's where you would get like the big numbers. You remember them like raiding the pot farm in California or whatever? There's a lot of people right there you can round up. And they're like, farmers get upset about that. Well, you don't want to upset farmers, so you go to the hotels. Turns out everyone there on the hotel staff potentially did not have the proper paperwork. Well, guess what?
Like a cruise ship.
Your president's friends with a lot of people who run hotels. And you go to the car factory. Well, we're trying to up our domestic manufacturing right now. And here you are taking out an entire building full of people manufacturing cars. And so they want the numbers. They don't want to do those easy things that actually get you the big numbers, which is a whole building full of people who are here illegally. It's very easy to figure out. So they're not going to do that. So they're just going to end up going door to door, doing checkpoints or doing whatever. And that's ain't going to work.
Yeah.
It just ain't going to work, man.
I was talking to a friend this weekend about this situation specifically. And one of the things I want to say is that to caution any of you out there who are thinking about protesting is make sure you protest properly. And there is an element of like play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Now, I'm not saying that this shooting is justified. I think it'll be legally justified. I'm saying morally justified. I don't think it's morally justified. However, you're putting yourself in a situation where the chances of being shot by an ICE officer are much, much higher. And you shouldn't. When we were talking about,
are you talking about because he had a gun?
No, I'm talking about the fact that you're in the realm of the ICE officers and not just protesting, but you're in the street. And you're in their face. And this situation to me turned out originally the woman, based on the videos I've seen, preceding the actual shooting incident, there was a woman who was looked to be impeding ICE officers. She was pepper sprayed and shoved down. This guy, Alex, came essentially to her rescue. He was pepper sprayed also, and then they tried to detain both the woman and him, which, by the way, as law enforcement officers, they can. But that's what you have to remember. Well, they're not just there to enforce federal law. They have law enforcement rights, let's say.
Well, they can detain people that are impeding them for sure. What's weird is that they didn't say you're under arrest, put your arms behind your back, nothing like that. They just are like trying to push people around and tackle people and throw without ever saying you're under arrest, freeze, stop, whatever, put your hands up, nothing like that. They're just, it strikes me as a lot of people who are very, very, I mean, these, it always gets difficult being a libertarian talking like this, but like these officers are dealing with people following them around, honking their horns, blowing rape whistles, stopping them.
Standing in traffic.
And a lot of times you got to think they are actually going after people who, they're like, yeah, we know that guy murdered someone. We're trying to go arrest this guy who murdered someone. It's the guy who, did something to abusing children or something like that. It does happen that they're trying to go after some of those people. Like you're blowing a rape whistle because I'm trying to arrest a rapist. Like that's kind of ironic, isn't it? And so you got to get super upset. And everywhere you walk, they're following you around. And there is a difference between being a legal observer, which you have a right to do under the First Amendment. That's fine, of course. But the left, as the children that they are, push everything to the absolute childish limit, which is like being a legal observer that's standing in front of you with their camera, like, oh, as long as I have a camera out, I'm a legal observer, which means I can stand in front of you. I can put this in your face and your eye line. You can't see what you're doing. I can stand in front of your car where you can't go anywhere as long as I got a phone out. I'm just legally observing.
I can blow a whistle so loud you can't hear yourself think.
Yeah, I can blow a whistle so loud no one can, that you couldn't even hear if they said you're under arrest, or you couldn't even hear whether or not someone said I got his gun or he's got a gun or something like that, because everyone's blowing these whistles the whole time. Like the whole thing with the I'm
like
telling
you
you,
said,
I'm
it's
still
the kids,
annoyed by the
it's
protesters.
the kids in the back seat, like I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, and then they get shoved to the ground, and then all of a sudden they're the victims, or in this case, shot, and which is unfortunate. I made a crude joke before the show talking with Nate that I won't necessarily repeat here, but it's they all of a sudden cry victim when they're instigating, and going, like I said, outside the bounds of a protest to impeding federal law enforcement officers, which you can't do, by the way, whether or not you agree with it or not, you can't do.
Even if you think you should. Like, even if you think it's a rightful thing to do, by the way, there's a difference. I was trying to make this point to Charlie earlier, which we're on a 25-minute rant right now. I was trying to make this point to Charlie earlier that there's a difference in protesting, which you can do, and acts of resistance against government officers, which as a libertarian, I'm like, okay, you want to do an act of resistance against a government officer? That's on you. That's how we got this country, baby. Sure.
If you think the officer's breaking a law.
Well, but guess what? You can do it, but you can't commit acts of resistance and say, I was just a peaceful protester. You can't touch me. Like the whole thing about committing an act of resistance against an officer, you don't go in there saying, I'm going to resist federal officers today. And guess what? They can't touch me.
Right.
No, it's when you call an act of resistance a protest, and then you go in there and say they can't touch me. But that's not what you're doing. Honestly, it's just not. And people should be honest about that whole thing. We believe in protest, and it's fine to do acts of resistance. Both of those things are fine, but there should not be consequences for peacefully protesting. And whether or not there should be, there are consequences for acts of resistance against the government. We know that as libertarians. It's why we're not out there trying to take down the ATF right now, even though all of us are like, oh yeah, screw the ATF. God hates feds. This is the Fed haters club. Right? What are you doing? Nothing, because there's consequences to going out there and committing acts of resistance against the government, and you know it. And we can all sit here and talk about how cool that is, but we all know that there are.
That's why I said you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
We're not going to go do it and put on our war paint and stuff and then go do our resistance against the government and be like, oh, we were protesting. No, you weren't. Just live up to it. If you want to go put your life on the line, then go do it, but don't bitch afterwards. It's not like the founding fathers. They went out there and did their revolution. And they came home like, they're just being so mean to us every day. We're out there in the trees going back and forth, we're shooting at them and stuff. And we're supposed to have the right.
We're just protesting these British soldiers.
Like, come on. If you're going to go after it, then go after it and don't complain afterwards.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? What are we doing right now?
And also, maybe, I'm not giving advice here, but maybe you should be a little bit better organized and figure out a plan and
first off,
try to reduce casualties.
These ICE agents, they don't exactly dress like agents. They dress like people. And it's kind of tough to tell who they are. Like, are you getting pulled off the street by some guy who's wearing a mask and putting you in his van, or is this an ICE agent? I don't know which one it is.
I mean, the videos I've seen, they're all wearing vests that say police on them or something.
Sometimes they are. What I'm saying is there's gear you can get at stores where, honestly, some of these protesters or legal observers could really make it confusing by just dressing exactly like how the ICE agents are dressing. And I'm not trying to give people ideas, but just saying that's a way you can do it.
If you were to resist the government.
Yeah. I mean, so just saying, if you're going to be organized about it and try to find ways to win. But
an individual.
Okay, to the actual shooting, these are the hardest words I've said so far in this show. The New York Times did a great job putting all this together. And I think it's a very fair video breaking down the shooting. I know you've seen plenty of videos of people breaking this down. But the fact of the matter is, I see no reason this guy should have been shot. Regardless of what your right-wing MAGA conservative government tells you, it is okay to carry a gun at a protest, as many of them have done, not the politicians, but many of their supporters have done. The other thing to remember, these officers did not know the guy had a gun. He was wearing a coat that went down to like his mid-thigh, zipped up. It's not as if they saw him and saw he had a gun and there was a reason to go take him down. They didn't even know the guy had a gun until he was bent over on the ground and his coat had come up and his gun was exposed. That's when they found out he had it. So the whole idea of him being this dangerous guy that they had to take down has nothing to do with whether or not he was carrying a gun at this protest. Why did he have it? Why didn't he have it? I don't know. Screw you. We don't answer those questions in America. That's not for you to ask. He had it because he can have it. Shut the hell up. It doesn't matter. All right, so let's play some of this.
Approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
But a Times analysis of video footage from the scene.
That's not what it looked like.
No, it doesn't look like that at all. And that's just the thing where Chrissy Nome's got to go. She's got to go. Pam Bondi's got to go. A lot of these people just have to go.
You're just picking on women.
But yeah, fine. I can't think of any of the other broads' names, but if you can get me a list of them, then they got to go.
One of the broads in the group is saying repeal the 19th.
Like when you're just coming out, it's so blatantly obvious that the things she's saying are not true. The other Border Patrol guy, what he's saying is not true. Cash comes out and says some really stupid stuff about having a gun at a protest, and especially Noam coming out and acting like this is a domestic terrorist who is there to inflict maximum. I mean, there are plenty of examples of right-wingers bringing the fully loaded ARs to protest and walk around, and we're not like, oh, well, they were clearly there to do maximum damage on law enforcement. And no, this is America. Shut up. The fact that the guy had a gun does not make him a domestic terrorist. You freaking commie.
Right.
Shut your mouth and quit your job.
When two officers open fire, clearly contradict federal government statements. Pretti does not appear to pose a threat to agents. In fact, at several critical junctures, he's outnumbered and under their control. Here are the key moments that reveal what happened. We see Pretti walking about, filming a group of protesters who are speaking with a federal agent.
Pause.
He's holding a...
By the way, they're in the road.
Yeah.
They're in the street.
And Pretti is directing traffic like that's his freaking job.
Yeah.
That's not, you don't get to decide whether or not cars can or cannot go by on this road. He's walking by, waving someone on, like, I have decided that you were allowed to come by on this road. And if someone else comes through and I decide they're not, then I'm going to stop them and I'm going to stand in their way.
Yes.
This is not protest. This is not legal observation.
And by
That's
the way,
not what this is. These are acts of resistance or acts of obstruction or whatever. It's not protest.
Yeah. And just because he knows how to run an ECMO machine does not give him the right to know how to direct traffic.
No.
You can't be in the street. You can't protest and be in the street. You don't have a right to impede other people's right to freely travel. That doesn't exist.
And
I know Martin Luther King Jr. and all them march down the streets and whatever, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean it's justified. You can't.
They might have got a permit for that, honestly.
Your rights end where another's begins. And by the way, the right to travel, although not explicitly stated in the Constitution, it's covered by the 9th Amendment, has been complete precedent since our country's founding.
Unless the government decides you can't travel.
Yeah.
That's the other time. It's the only time. I'm just saying.
Potentially.
Yeah,
yes.
Just saying.
Oh, the flicker.
There we go. Going
this
on
whole time we were talking about how we didn't lose power. We were the lucky ones.
Yeah, ICE let us go. The ICE here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Not the agents.
Cell phone in one hand. The other hand is empty. It's just over 30 seconds before the shooting when a protester is pushed to the ground. Pretti steps between her and the agent.
Now, the pushing of the lady to the ground makes no sense either. I don't care what she said. I don't care what earlier, maybe she was in your way and impeding and stuff. There's no instance where a law enforcement officer gets to walk up to a lady who's standing on the side of the road where cars are parked and stuff like that, and walk up to her and just push her back into the snow and onto the sidewalk super hard. I'm not okay with that, even if I think these protesters are annoying and I don't like them. And I think I think technically they're impeding what they're doing.
Yes,
I
because
get that.
I'm pretty sure the instructions were go over there.
Yeah, but that's not an arrest. If she has committed some kind of an offense where she's impeding law enforcement, just shoving someone back as hard as you can is not, I don't think, an official tactic of how you take care of someone that needs to be under arrest.
Possible. But I actually give deference to the officers here, which is...
You would, statist.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, hey, basically the commands are you can't protest here. You're in the middle of a street. You can't protest in my face. Please back up. If you repeatedly deny those commands, then force is necessary at that point. Same if it were me and you. And by the way, if Nate, you're in my house right now because I invited you over, but if you start being rude to me and you get in my face and stuff and I tell you to back up and you don't, and I'm like, hey, back up, leave my house, and you don't, I have the right to shove you. You're in my face.
No, I was just thinking about how we have 13 minutes left and we haven't played one video.
Yeah, that's true.
It's hilarious. I think, no, we're doing fine.
And you're always so worried about having enough material.
I have so much stuff pulled up for this, and we have a hard stop in 13 minutes. Yeah. I had to say one more thing again about the whistles. This is like if your neighbor's playing music super loudly, is that like infringing on your rights? You know, this is a stupid, annoying libertarian argument. I think because people are so split on the immigration thing, it makes it difficult to decide what you are and are not okay with. Let's just say that we're just not immigrants, but you just know that like in these 2-block radius, there's a known high concentration of people that you know have assaulted children. I'll just say it that, so I don't have to do any edits or anything like that. Nothing to do with their immigration status or whatever. And the FBI, because this is a federal investigation, they found these people, is coming down the block to get out and go into this building to arrest this. There's a meeting of assaulters of minors. And there's a group of people following them around because there's a group of MAPs, minor attracted persons, who are following them around and blowing whistles and honking their horns and yelling on megaphones and impeding them, getting in front of their vehicles, trying to stop them from arresting these people. In that case, what I wonder is, like, is it even okay that they're running around like blowing these whistles, giving everyone the warning that they're coming down the street to arrest them for what they've done? Are you actually like, is that not impeding their actions?
It is impeding. That's what I'm saying.
They've decided it's not. I mean, you're not getting arrested for blowing a rape whistle while they're coming down the street to arrest immigrants. You know what I mean? That what I'm saying, the left, they got like, I don't know how, they just got teams of people sitting around thinking this stuff up of how they can push every single thing to the absolute limit and every single carve out while still being able to be a victim afterwards. It's like an amazing thing that they're capable of doing. I don't know. I don't have the capability myself. Honestly, I don't know how they do it. Here's a little bit more.
Who'd shoved her, briefly putting his hand on the agent's waist. The agent pepper sprays Pretti's face. We can see Pretti is still holding his phone in one hand, while holding his other hand up to protect himself against the spray. Contrary to statements by federal officials, he's made no threatening movements towards agents. Pretti, who had a firearms permit, carries a gun holstered on his right hip, but he doesn't reach for it, and it appears agents are unaware the gun is even there. He reaches toward the protester, apparently trying to help her up, while agents begin grabbing him from behind. He tries to pull away, and again, he makes no threatening movements towards the agents. But agents pull him backwards and force him to the ground. Then, shots ring out. Now we'll slow things down so each moment is clear. Here is Pretti. Several agents are restraining him, and this is the Border Patrol agent who will shoot him first. This appears to be when agents first notice that Pretti is carrying a firearm and yell that he has a gun. Watching the same moment from a different angle, the agent who first pepper sprayed Pretti beats him several times with the spray canister. We can see that both of Pretti's arms are pinned down by his head. This agent in gray reaches to remove Pretti's weapon from his hip. As this agent unholsters his gun, nudges the agent in gray out of the way, and fires. Let's rewind and focus on the agent who shoots first. Just seconds before he fired, he was facing away from Pretti and focusing on an entirely different situation as he tries to spray a nearby woman with an irritant. The spray appears to malfunction, and the agent turns as he adjusts it. That's when someone yells that Pretti has a gun.
In this situation, that I thought that was kind of funny. The whole situation is tragic, but whatever was happening over here was so important that he needed to spray the lady in the face. And when his can doesn't work, he's just like, all right, well, I'm just going to turn my back to that and go over here to this situation. Because I'm like, okay, so it wasn't really that big of a deal then, was it?
Yeah.
You didn't need to try to arrest that person, nothing like that.
Also, it's a lady,
couldn't
so
spray
he's
them.
like, you know, one person can handle
As he
this.
tries to spray a nearby woman with an irritant. The spray appears to malfunction, and the agent turns as he adjusts it. That's when someone yells that Pretti has a gun. And around 5 seconds after fully turning his attention toward Pretti, the agent draws his weapon and shoots. His arm visibly recoils at the first shot. The firearm has clearly been removed from the scrum when the first shots are fired toward Pretti at close range.
But no one knows that.
The officer who disarmed Pretti can be seen reacting to the sound of the first shot, looking back toward the skirmish. The shooter was standing behind Pretti and not under direct threat, contradicting statements from Homeland Security officials that he fired defensive shots. He also has a vantage point to see the gun.
You can fire defensive shots and not be under direct threat.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Security officials that he fired defensive shots. He also has a vantage point to see the gun pulled from the scene, but it's unclear if he did and whether he thought a weapon was still on Pretti. He then fires 3 more shots from behind Pretti, whose arms are down as he appears to brace himself against the pavement. In one hand, he still holds his phone, and in his other, his glasses. The agent in gray who removed Pretti's gun carries it across the street. Pretti is disarmed and falling to the ground. But the agent who first pepper sprayed Pretti and later beat him with a canister also pulls out his gun. From a distance, despite the fact that Pretti is lying motionless on the ground, these 2 agents fire 6 more shots. Neither is under threat.
What the fuck did you just do?
In total, the agents fire 10 shots in 5 seconds. After the shooting, an agent kneeling next to Pretti's body asks where the gun is.
I got the gun.
Showing that not all of the officers seemed to know the weapon had been removed. Agents appear to begin giving medical aid. About 31 seconds elapsed from the time agents first physically engaged Pretti to the moment the last shot was fired.
I thought it was a pretty good analysis of the situation. The one thing I didn't see in this, I'd seen a lot of people post about how this was actually a negligent discharge from this SIG. Was it P320? I don't know anything about that gun at all, but I hear it's pretty standard. I had heard that it was a negligent discharge. I'd seen many videos posted claiming to show that, and that would, that would give more cover, a little bit more cover for the officers because they heard a shot first, and someone's yelling gun. So I think that would be important. I don't think that there was a negligent discharge. I haven't seen any videos actually showing that. And so I think that argument is out. Now, the thing happens so fast, and obviously an agent comes in and pulls the gun from the guy. Now, the guy who shot him seems to be kind of clumsy enough to, he might even have known that was another agent that came. Remember, the thing happens really fast. He could have seen the gun come out and not even realize that it was another guy. I mean, you got 6 guys around there. I can't do math very well, but that's a lot of arms.
Yeah, I don't think he had any idea that.
Yeah.
Plus, they're slowing the video down. The weapon was removed in like less than a second.
Yeah. But regardless of all that, like we said, I think legally this guy's going to be fine. And maybe even morally, you can say he's fine because he thought that there was a threat. He heard someone yelling gun, and he saw a gun come from the guy's waistband. And maybe even he'll, morally he could be fine because he saw that happen. The whole thing happens really fast. The agency itself should be able to just come out and say, this was a mistake. This clearly should not have happened. It's not part of our rules that we disarm a guy and then we kill him. That's just not. So these agents were not working together very well. I feel like we should have trained 6 guys good enough that they ought to be able to get a guy on the ground, and it seems like our bear spray is expired or whatever. So it's not working very well either. And so, there should be some responsibility taken, and they need to just do an investigation, which I know they are, but it's like they're going to do an investigation of themselves. It's difficult to, like, who's going to do it? The DOJ? Okay, well, that's still them.
Yeah.
So it's like, who's gonna do
the problem
thing?
when the government investigates the government.
So
we found no wrongdoing.
So then that's why they're like, well, we need to bring these people in front of Congress, or we need to bring some of these leaders in front of Congress and ask them questions about this. And so then it's at least another branch of government doing some type of investigation. Like, people need, at least they need to see that there is accountability for when the government does things wrong, or how you could have better handled the situation if you want to keep being able to do this. These left-wing people, and, just people who are against ICE in general, but you guys know the left, like, they're way more willing to go out there and protest stuff. Way more willing. And it's going to keep getting harder and harder. And even if you think you've got the moral high ground or whatever,
protest, they all get thrown in jail.
Yeah, you just don't see the right out there protest. That's
because they all get put in jail, dude.
Well, that's why they protest. It's just not a big news action because the right generally has a lot of respect for law enforcement. They don't have respect for politicians, but they have respect for law enforcement and military, and so they don't typically go out on and property owners and business owners and homeowners and stuff like that. So they're not
typically getting paid to protest.
Yeah, they don't go out and break shit when they go out there. That's why Jan 6 was so weird, and why I think it's so easy to be like, yeah, it seems like there was some agitation maybe by other people, because you hardly ever see that. Like, there were lockdown protests. Did you see how many of them
actually went to jail versus how many BLM rioters went to jail?
Oh, I know. That's because they invaded the cathedral. That's why. Like, it was an assault on God.
We have so much more stuff to get into.
Well, this is part 1. We're going to do part 2 tomorrow.
Okay, so, I was going to say we have a bunch of dumb stuff to go into, including some things Trump said, and all sorts of things, whether or not this guy had a right to carry a gun. Is there an assault on the Second Amendment now? Does the right believe in the Second Amendment? Who knows?
And also,
there's more to discuss on all of this, but we're out of time.
Yeah. Also, we're totally out of time. Get us out of here.
I'll say one more thing.
I want to cover how many deportations have actually happened, how many can possibly happen, how many people are actually here that they think are violent criminals, and what some other avenues could be. Rand Paul's had a plan. I've got a plan also. It involves, first, targeting the criminals, second, targeting people that are on welfare.
Sounds like a good plan.
It's like if you're giving people welfare, like,
More on Nate's plan tomorrow. So if you guys enjoyed part 1 of today's episode, then share it around. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go to GodHatesFeds.com. Be part of the Fed Haters Club, where we sit around and do nothing.
Yep.
But talk about it. So,
yeah,
as Nate mentioned earlier, but hey, you're safe in the Fed Haters Club so far. You know, may have to organize one day, but visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsor, support this show. If you do all that, we'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you have a good day and a good morning. Libertas.